cannot find an iPhone 14 Pro Max anywhere. They're all on back order till October and beyond. I'm gonna help you figure out which Pro iPhone is the best size and use case for your needs. So I started off with the iPhone 14 Pro to try to go down to a smaller size and to see if that battery could suffice. Previously iPhone 13 Pro Max user. And I'm gonna be quick and frank. No, once you go Max, you'll never go back. Let me explain as to why I am switching from the iPhone 14 Pro to the iPhone 14 Pro Max today. Let's get into it. YouTube! This box just arrived today, and here's a tip and here's a reality. You cannot find an iPhone 14 Pro Max anywhere. They're all on back order, but there is one place where I was able to find one, and literally I ordered this 2 days ago and it's here. I'll let you know where, because this isn't a sponsored video, so we'll talk about that later. But let's get into here and get the Max out so that we can put it up side by side to the 14 Pro. Now, I will say this, my iPhone 14 Pro experience, iOS 16, blase blah, has been quite wonderful and impressive thus far. Everyone likes to make the jokes that, you know, Apple, they're releasing the same phone, doing the same things, blase blah.
To the new design of the old design of the same design.
While some of that is true, the design doesn't change much. iOS 16 is the star of the show on this iPhone 14 Pro and 14 Pro Max. Boom. And yes, we went back to the gold because the gold is absolutely fire. How could you not appreciate the swag of this iPhone 14 Pro in the gold colorway with this orange Apple Wallet? This combination right here is absolutely lit, especially when I add in my gold Apple Watch right here with the, you know, kind of orangish tinted leather band. Oh, absolutely crushing the game. So nevertheless, let's open up this 14 Pro Max. Now, the thing is, where I got this from was Best Buy. I want to point out the fact that if you're going to run and grab one from Best Buy really quick so that you can get one now, there's only certain, ones that are available ASAP, and you have to do it through a carrier. So they're not giving unlocked devices. So that was the only trade-off that I didn't like, is because this 14 Pro right here is unlocked. I typically always buy unlocked devices, but nevertheless, in order to get the 14 Pro Max, which is the boss, I had to do it through the carrier, which is fine because, you know, we could just pay it off, do it quick, and get the unlock code. Woo! So this is the beautiful iPhone 14 Pro Max. Let's do a little quick comparison to the 13 Pro Max. Now, you got to keep it a buck. You can see the camera housing the physical difference. In person, it looks massive. On camera, it doesn't look as big of a difference, but these are way bigger camera sensors, and I love it because that's going to equal better photography and video. Now, I know some people, people who probably rushing to type in the comment section right now, isn't Apple having issues with their camera? Well, I guess there are a few bad units out there, just like with all tech. Even with me, with my Z Flip 4, I think I got a bad unit and so forth, but I'm still waiting to see what Samsung is going to tell me as far as that Z Flip 4 goes. So yeah, the iPhone 14 Pro Max is my choice of phone. I tried the 14 Pro, and I'm back at the Max. Now, what's cool is in this video, I'll be able to show you guys switching from eSIM to eSIM, because right now this is set up for me to use right now on my carrier via eSIM, but I'm gonna have to switch devices because we're going 14 Pro Max. So let's go ahead and start this up. And when I get to the eSIM portion, I'll go ahead and show you guys that. Gotta enter in my iCloud ID password, you know what I'm saying? What you looking at? Oh, turn around right now. I'm not gonna finish until you turn around. All right, so they're gonna make me confirm my phone number. Now I gotta verify my identity and so forth. After verifying my identity with my carrier, it is activating this iPhone. Activating eSIM, connecting iPhone to cellular network. Sweet. So I'm just curious to see how quick it turns off the 14 Pro while it activates the 14 Pro Max. Cellular setup is complete. And this phone just went to SOS and Wi-Fi. So it worked as it was supposed to. Boom. All right, baby. Okay, so I'm gonna set this up really quick and then we're gonna go head to head with the 14 Pro Max versus the 14 Pro. I'm gonna help you figure out which Pro iPhone is the best size and use case for your needs. All right, I'm back, and as you can see, we have the iPhone 14 Pro Max and the 14 Pro. And this one does not have the mute switch. I mute every phone that I own. I don't like phone notification noises. It's just the utmost annoying thing. So let's knock out the quick, easy differences between these two devices. We got the 14 Pro Max versus the 14 Pro. The first thing that's simple and easy and different about these two is the price point. $999 versus $1099. So only a $100 difference between the two. Let's talk about the display sizes. We are 6.1 inches on the iPhone 14 Pro, but the Pro Max is coming in at a 6.7 inch display. Let me unlock these. So as you guys can see, there is a difference in the sizing. Bigger phones, bigger displays, easier to see for some people who have bad eyes, but nevertheless, there's a lot of physical differences, and there are some pluses to going with the bigger device, which we're gonna get into in this video. Pretty much what I love about the Pro lineup, whether you go for the 14 Pro 6.1 inch or you go for the 6.7 inch, they're exactly the same. Nothing differs between the two. In the past, we've kind of had it where the Max model got a little more sauce than the Pro model, but now Apple has aligned these two to the point where they're both equally as powerful. But there are some physical differences. Let's start off with the obvious one, sizing. This is gonna be a deciding factor for a lot of people as to what size phone and device do you wanna carry on a daily. Now, I'm not gonna lie, the iPhone 14 Pro is actually a pretty big size device, but it's more of the normal size device that we're used to in today's day and age. But when you get on the 14 Pro Max, that's like the flagship size, the typical flagship size. But not everyone wants a big phone, and believe me, big phone fatigue is a thing, yet I'm running back to the Max. Now, the latest changes with the 14 Pro and Pro Max are these camera sensors. These camera sensors are massive and amazing. We got this brand new 48 megapixel main wide camera on these devices, which is phenomenally good. Now, speaking on cameras, I know right now there's been an issue with certain iPhone models, 14 Pro and I guess 14 Pro Max, having this camera shake, and Apple's gonna be releasing a software fix within the next week. So let's get that out the way. I haven't experienced it personally. It's more of a third-party app thing, like with TikTok and Snapchat and all of those things. Now, touching back on display again really quick, one of the things I wanna note, what I love about Apple is when they have different displays between their devices, they keep the PPI the same. So no matter if you go with the smaller display on the iPhone 14 Pro or the larger display on the Pro Max, although the pixel count is different because of the physics and the physical size of the display, the PPI is the same. So these are just as crisp as one another. So it's not like you're getting a better display by going with either or. So you gotta love that. I appreciate that. It's allowing me to choose, or you to choose, what size device you want and what size, battery and all that stuff, and to focus on those things as opposed to feeling like I have to pick one or the other. So shout out to Apple for making it seamless across the board between these two and making it easier to pick. Let's get into another difference between the two, the sizing and weight. iPhone 14 Pro, you're getting a lighter device, size and weight wise. So you're getting a 5.8 inch device with a weight of 7.27 ounces. And then when you go to the 14 Pro Max, you're getting a height of 6.3 inches and a weight of 8.47 ounces. She's a bit heftier, she's a bit thicker, but it's not really by that much. To some, it is absolutely a deciding factor. Not everyone wants a 6.7-inch display device. Some prefer the 6.1-inch, and I can totally understand why, because in this time that I've had the 14 Pro, I've loved the size. Like, I absolutely love the size and the weight reduction. And with that being said, let's get into the biggest factor as to what's really separating these two and what's making me make a change in difference in my choice, and that's battery life. Let me be clear, the 14 Pro battery is actually really good. And when you look at Apple's site, they don't really give you the true spec. You know, they always rate it like up to X amount of hours, but let's get more technical than that. From a true physical standpoint on battery, the difference is the iPhone 14 Pro Max comes with a whopping 4,323 milliamp hour battery versus the 3,200 milliamp hour battery in the 14 Pro. This is a huge deciding factor for me. And oddly enough, the previous generation 13 Pro Max has a slightly larger battery. But when I do the 13 Pro versus 14 Pro, we'll get technical on that one. Nevertheless, we're talking 1,000 and some change milliamp hours of difference between the 14 Pro Max and the 14 Pro. And trust me, I noticed. Now, on this new generation, I'm coming from a iPhone 13 Pro Max. In this new generation, we have the always on display. Now, the first night I turned always on display on the 14 Pro, and I instantly turned it off the next day once I saw the battery percentage. The real deciding factor in battery for me, although the 14 Pro has great battery and it's probably more than enough for most, in all reality, when I had the max version of this iPhone, I'm able to not care or not worry about charging my device. I can be careless about charging my device and not have to worry. And that right there is everything when it comes to the versus for me personally between these two devices. So that's why I'm switching and ditching the iPhone 14 Pro for the iPhone 14 Pro Max. It's literally battery life alone. And the larger display, obviously, because the larger display is another great thing between the two. And let's pull up this video.
So my wrist is approximately around 6 inches. So I have a smaller wrist. So going from 41 millimeters to 25.
All right. So as you can see, when watching content, that larger screen real estate is actually effective, like in a real way. Like it's nice to have a nice big display when you watching video content. Although the 14 Pro, like I'm gonna be honest, I can get along with it being just this device and it'll be cool. But when you can have this for your visual enjoyment, why not? Why not have a larger display? Another thing to note with these displays, they have the exact same massive 2000 nit peak brightness between the two, which is actually effective out in direct sunlight. It's hard to convey it via the camera and recording, but I can confirm with my own 2 eyes, or 4 eyes, shall I say, that the 2000 nit display is amazing in direct sunlight. So as you can see, these displays are the same. They both look exactly the same. They both are very extremely color accurate. Those nice, beautiful Apple displays that are beautifully calibrated for accuracy. And that's what I love about them. So as a creator, a creative, these are awesome. They both are hitting the little notch part a little bit. So you can see that. And if we stretch it, visual on these, man, just beautiful displays. Nonetheless, amongst the two. So you can't go wrong, in my opinion, going either way. There's not one that is better than the other. It's just a difference, honestly, of size, weight, and battery. Those are the biggest differences between these two, and those are the biggest deciding factors. And as you can see, for me, it was battery and a little bit of the display that helped make the decision for me to switch from the 14 Pro to the 14 Pro Max. Heavy users, 14 Pro Max. Hard of seeing, 14 Pro Max. Everyone else, 14 Pro or 14 Pro Max. So hopefully this helped you make a more precise and decisive What does decisive mean? Settling an issue. Oh yeah, see, I'm right. So hopefully this video has made your decision more precise, more decisive, and more effective. Literally, listen, if you want better battery and you want the bigger display, go for the Max. If you want a smaller phone, decent battery, go for the Pro.